Hey everyone, we're back, and lots to talk about. First of all, let's talk about the scenery change. Look around you. This is my new humble abode. I like it a lot. Yeah, things have changed. I am now living with a new family. Let's see, Doña Josefa. In it's a hostel, is what I'm staying in now. But it's not like a hostel that you think of when you think of like gringos running all over the place, things like that. No, it's pretty much just Nicas in here, which is great because if there were gringos all over the place, I'd never get to practice my Spanish, which is not what I want. Great new family, love them. I've eaten with them a couple of times. I just chilled out a little bit. There's another hammock, which makes everything just make life much better when there's a hammock involved. So I'm loving these new digs. The reason for the change, well, basically, I'll just leave it at the contract was over with the other family, and certain people didn't really want to continue the contract. And I include myself. After a little while, it's all right. I'm probably I still love a bunch of the members of that family. They're still really great to me. They also want me to come by all the time, use the internet to upload things like this because there's no internet here, and of course use their gym. They can't miss out on that. So what an offer! Internet and gym, good. Like it a lot. Let's see. Other things that have been happening recently. Well, last time I talked to you guys, I told you I was going to be going somewhere. That somewhere was Selva Negra, which is Black Forest. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful place up in the Matagalpa highlands. It is one of the highest points in Nicaragua, which means that it is also the coldest point in Nicaragua. Now, not a lot of people are probably thinking, oh, it's Nicaragua, there's no such thing as cold. You're wrong. Up there in the highlands, it gets cold. Like pine trees and sitting there shivering cold. And it's wet all the time, which was kind of a downer, but it was still at the same time the clouds rolling in through the mountains of pine forest, things like that. It was really gorgeous. Lots of pics to come. Keep an eye on my Tumblr, keep an eye on my Facebook, and you'll probably get some pretty good views of that. We were going in for in-service training and our two-month reconnect. It's been a little bit more than 2 months now in sight. Let's see, today is the 30th when I'm recording this, which means it has been 2 months and 10 days since I got here. Awesomeness. And loving every second of it so far. And let's see, today the teachers are going back to school to start working to form a plan. I'm not exactly certain what's going on over there. I have to make sure that I get in there tomorrow to try and figure out what is going on. Snags have been hit with my tire with the teachers, and it's basically coming down to a decision based on the delegado, who I think the closest American equivalent I can think of is the kind of like the superintendent of the schools in the district. His job is to basically say what we can and cannot do, and it's going to come down to whether or not he wants us to go to the planning meeting, which is scheduled at the same time as our taller, or let us pre-plan, turn in our stuff at the meeting, and then hightail it out of there to get to the taller, the workshop on the manual. We'll see. I'm inclined to think that he's probably not going to let us do it. They place a big amount of emphasis on these planning meetings, so might be looking at a no on that one. But we tried, and it just means that we'll have to either move it or plan for a new one some other time. We'll see what shakes loose on that. But back to Selva Negra. I don't know. I'm a little scatterbrained right now. I've been reorganizing my stuff for the past 2 hours. So just because there's not a whole lot of space in here, But you know what? I kind of like it. It's kind of cozy. Um, Great bed, great pillows, fan, and yeah, everything I really need. Man, I really am scatterbrained right now. But at least you're getting a good look at what's happening to me. Selva Negra, we were there. We got to meet all of TEFL 54, which is the group of TEFL English teachers that came before us. Great bunch, and more connections all throughout Nicaragua now. Because I think TEFL is actually the most spread out of all the different sectors. Most of the health volunteers kind of tend to be in the north, along the frontier, the frontier with Honduras, whereas your agriculture and man, I'm like all over the place today. Agriculture and environment workers, they tend to be in the Matagalpa, Jinotega highlands. But they're all over the place. But they tend to be focused over there. As for small businesses, all over the place, and English, all over the place. Because pretty much wherever you go, you need to have businesses, and pretty much wherever you go, people are wanting to learn English. So we're pretty spread out. But yeah, so we get to meet all of them, and Selva Negra also happens to be a organic coffee plantation, which is really awesome. They are, as was described, as a closed circle business. They don't really have to buy anything from anyone. They make their own fertilizer. They produce all their own materials. They produce everything that they need to run that plantation, except workers, of course, which they hire in. They take really good care of their workers. This was something I really liked about this place, about Selva Negra Coffee. They pay their workers based on the weight they bring in. Basically, I did the math, and it's only something between $5 to $7 a day, which is a fair amount of money for a migrant worker. On top of that, they get free housing, good housing, free food, good food, education for their kids, free medical care. And also all of their houses have kitchens in them as well, so that if they don't want to eat or want to eat more than what they're being served, they can cook as well. So it's not as limited to what the plantation does. So they take really, really good care of them. And they tend to hire more women than they hire men. I asked why was that, and my tour guide, he told me, well, because the women don't tend to get drunk very often or get into fights or things like that, so you know what, they're more trustworthy than the men, so we hire the women. So that was really interesting. And yeah, they're really, really cool organization, a company, I guess. So what I have to call them is a company, but I feel kind of more like they're kind of something unto themselves. I mean, they produce. They're producers, is what I would like to call them, I guess. They have one thing, they do it, and they make a lot of money doing it. And at the same time, their place is so gorgeous that they just have turned part of it into a resort, and that's why we were able to go there, because the resort was just big enough to have us all there at the same time, and really, really beautiful place. Yeah, there was this big lagoon, and then there's just mountains all around us. There are these houses that are the kind of like, I guess, the hotels, I guess, like the rooms, quarters, whatever you want to call them. They look like log cabins, and had plants growing over the roofs for more insulation. Hot showers, that was amazing. Cannot tell you how, after 5 months having a hot shower, how that feels. Let's see. Met the owner. He is one awesome person. He told us all these stories. He's like 72, I think is how old he is. German Nicaraguan. His family first moved there and bought the plantation in 1910. And let's see, what is his name? Senor Cool. What's his name? Cool. I forget his first name. But his Cool literally is his last name is Kuhl, but you can say he's Mr. Cool. Pretty awesome. And he told us all these stories about how when he was a student in LA, and for a long time. Then he couldn't continue his studies there, so his dad sent him some money to fly home, but he didn't want to spend the money on a ticket, so what he did is he told the embassy, well, next time you have somebody that's going to drive down to South America, let me know and I'll be their driver. And so he finally gets a call, and he drives from LA all the way down through Mexico, through El Salvador, through Guatemala, all the way to Nicaragua. And that's amazing right there. In and of itself, it's amazing. And at the same time, he realizes that he left his girlfriend behind in the United States without saying goodbye to her. And he feels terrible about this. 50 years go by. And then he gets he's in an interview with some magazine or something like that. And a little time afterwards, he gets a letter in the mail saying, with the article, saying, says, I thought something happened to you. You didn't. And so it was his ex-girlfriend from 50 years ago. And it was an amazing story. And then he finds her phone number in the phone book, and he's married and has kids at this time. His kids have kids at this time. And he goes into the room and he calls her up. It's like, hey, how you doing? Oh, she recognized his voice immediately, which is hilarious. And oh my god, he was so funny. He just comes over and he sits down with. He didn't even sit down. He just kind of. We sat in this big round table, and he just kind of going around the table. It's like, what do you do? Well, I study. He's just talking to the different volunteers. I study political science. Oh, well, you're just going into the wrong field for friends, aren't you? Or something. He just goes around, and he had just something to say to every single one. He had a story for everybody. Definitely, probably the highlight of the trip was sitting down with Mr. Cool, and just having a chat. So, but enough about that. I'm scatterbrained. I'm tired, and I'm probably gonna go to bed here pretty soon in my new digs. So, hasta próxima. Big update here, man. Oh, I'm all kinds of messed up. I'm gonna talk to you guys later. Bye.